Thanks for tuning into the Hidden Tracks podcast. You can find us wherever you find podcasts or listen to music. When you have an opportunity, please give us a 5-star review, write a little note, tell us how we're doing. We really appreciate it. It helps us keep this thing going. If you want to reach out to us, you can find us at Facebook at Hidden Tracks. Instagram is at HiddenTracks99, and if you'd like to send in submissions or talk to us or give us any feedback about what we're doing, our email is myhiddentracks99@gmail. Thank you so much again for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy the show. All right, guys, I have a very special guest here today. This may take a long time because I got to pick this guy's brain. Rishi he's the founder of Four Chord Music Festival. He's also in band Eternal Boys, formerly the SpacePimps. I mean, there's so much to dive into. But the first thing I want to say is welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you, man.
I'm happy to be here, Shane, and I'm stoked to see what we uncover.
All right. Well, let's uncover the big thing that's coming up. You've had so many big things in your life musically that are, I mean, just astounding to me, and we're going to touch on a bunch of them today. But Four Chord Music Festival you started, you're going on Four Chord Music 8 right now. And from the first one to 8, I mean, to watch it as an outsider and see how this festival has grown, I mean, it's amazing to see the change in bands and how it's gone, and from bands on the first ever Four Chord Music Fest to where those bands are today. It's almost like you added this like little jumping off point for them, which is pretty fucking cool. So why don't you get into like starting it and what were your trepidations and things in music and why you wanted to do it and the reason behind it?
Sure. Yeah. So Four Chord Music Fest is going in its 8th year, as you mentioned. It started off at a very small club in Pittsburgh. It's like 1,000-person cap club, and essentially, I wanted to start it because I just felt like at the time a lot of tours were coming through Pittsburgh, and a lot of industry stuff was going on, and I felt like we were getting passed on for a lot of the opportunities, and I thought that, well, rather than sit here and kind of wait for the magical hand to come swoop and pick me up and pick the band up and put them on shows or put us on tours, I was just like, yeah, why don't we just try to do it ourselves? And it started off as a small endeavor. It is still a very, very DIY endeavor, despite, I guess one could say it's exponential growth over the last 8 years. But it started out, the first year was in 2014 or 15, and it was with the Wonder Years, Real Friends, Modern Baseball, Turnover, the band The SpacePimps, which we are now Eternal Boy, We Are the Union. It was, again, a bit of a experiment at the time. I didn't really think that it would end up evolving into what it's evolved into. But again, it just kind of grew out of the same DIY ethos that I, kind of grew up in here in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh music scene when I grew up in the mid and early 2000s was vibrant, and we, as bands, we kind of learned from other bands, and there were a handful of those bands that ended up making it that we kind of followed their path in many ways and took a play out of their playbook. And Four Chord is just an arm, an extension of that. I mean, it's an extension of doing things yourself, not kind of waiting for people to help you, and you help yourself in terms of the music. And again, I can't really explain how it's grown into what it's grown into, but I'm certainly happy I'm here and on the ride for it.
Well, I can explain. It's from your hard work and your perseverance to continue it. I mean, because it is you. I mean, it's you who does it, right? So,
correct.
I mean, the explanation begins and ends with you. I mean, yes, you have support and you have, lighting and sound and this whole team behind it, but the one who does it all is you. So the explanation begins and ends there.
Well, I appreciate that. Again, you seem like a very, very kind person, but I think that it certainly is my idea, and like the bands and so on and so forth. And I have a partner this year that is helping to some degree. I do like to think that when you look at the macro level picture, of course, it's a lot to do with me. But whenever you look at the nuts and bolts, like without my band, like it would be very hard to do. I mean, they step up a lot. Particularly our bass player Joe does a ton. My best friend from high school and from middle school, his name's Max. We're still best friends. He's a lawyer. He does all the legal work for free. behind the scenes. And believe me when I say that there is a ton of legal work that gets done for something like this. There really is a ton. And then speak again, homies involved. The first guy that ever produced our record as the SpacePimps, his name's Dave Bjornson.
Hmm.
He was a record producer for years. He worked with bands like The Darkness and Os Rotten and a bunch of other bands. He produced us here in Pittsburgh, did a great job, and then moved on and started the biggest high-end audio and lighting company in Pennsylvania. He's the production manager and does all the lighting and audio design for it. So, our boy Mike Tomasulo, he's a tour manager. He is the production manager for Four Chord. So it really is a family endeavor. I think, and it can't happen without every piece of the puzzle. But yeah, I mean, macro level, certainly the late nights and the talent buying, the graphic design, the marketing, the branding. I mean, it is me, but again, without everybody else, it can't really get done.
Yeah, and that's why I threw it out to the team. But this being your vision and pushing it forward, I never want to take anything away, because there's always, no matter what, same thing for me here on this show. I got someone behind me that helps me do what I do and only makes it possible for that way.
Right.
And that's just having that support staff, which is awesome, that you can lean on people like that. And have the people that see that same end goal and vision as you do, which is pretty righteous.
Most definitely. Yeah, that's for sure. I think that's, yeah. But I mean, again, and going back, switching roles now, right? But the podcast is probably your baby, and just like Four Chord is my baby.
Yeah.
At this point. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and so there's a big thing that, watching this, and I implore people, everybody that's listening to here, is to go back and check the archives and see the bands that have played there and where they are today, and then how this thing has grown. So my wondering is, you throw out the first year as that whole DIY thing, and it was also at the time where touring festivals were kind of a thing of the past, and
Mm-hmm.
things weren't making money. So trying to bring something, I guess it's also, as I like to call it, a selfish act. It's kind of something to put out there to help people, but at the same time, you kind of want to see those bands too, as the person putting it together. So, I mean, from the start to where it is today, I mean, what has been your to pick a band, to say, this is who I want to come here? Now, it's probably also one of those things where when you get married, you invite 150 people because you only want 100 there, type of thing. Like, do you reach out to 150 bands and hope that the 100 that you really want answer? Like how does that work for you?
Yeah. So I mean, I grew up, during what I call the drive-through records era, which was obviously exploded in your home state of Jersey, and kind of where it began for me. And for me, there are so many bands out there that I love, but there is a story behind what happened pre-pandemic. And in essentially in March of 2020, right when the pandemic hit, I think it was March 4th, I announced Four Chord Music Fest 7. And Four Chord Music Fest 7 at the time had Blink 182. So I confirmed Blink in January of 2020, and everything was looking great. It was Blink 182, The Used, Mayday Parade, State Champs. I mean, it was a really solid lineup. And then the pandemic hits, and Blink was my idol. That was it for me. Like, you get Blink, other than, say, someone like Taylor Swift, which is like my joke favorite love band person musician.
It's
like,
your white
Blink
whale.
is
You
it.
can quit what you're doing, almost, essentially. You're like, that's it. Like that, that getting that band for you, if it's that big. I have mine in my life too, to be on the show, that white whale that you get, and you're like, all right, I'm all good now. Now it's just gravy.
Yeah, that's totally correct. Yeah, Blink is that. I mean, Blink, I don't know if I would say, I mean, there's a lot of complexities in my life, but Blink is like one of the things that like shaped my life into what it is today. I mean, I think I can pretty much definitively say that. And to get them was, I couldn't even believe it. I couldn't believe that it happened. I mean, I get the finances behind it, so I get why it happened. But so I announced Blink in March 2020. We were on sale for a week, and then the pandemic hit. Everything shut down. Everything got put in limbo. We kind of pushed everything off. We decided, at that point, what it was like. Everybody, listening, and even what it's like. It's like, oh well, come summer, like, this is going to be gone. Like, we're doing the quarantine. Like, shit's not going to get real bad. Ended up obviously staying. So I think it was by the end of May, I realized that it wasn't going to happen in July. So I announced in March it was going to happen in July. I realized it wasn't going to happen, so I I made a statement saying like it's going to be postponed. But before that statement, I contacted every band and already had a new date for 2021, and every band was confirmed for it. But I didn't tell the public that yet, just because I wanted things to calm down. So Blink was confirmed, everybody was confirmed, added some bands. August rolls around, we relaunch in the middle of August with Blink again. It was going to be in July of 2022. I'm sorry, July of 2021. And so we were ready. I was ready to roll. Whatever, the year was coming around. We went through winter, got through spring, saw that there was still a lot of ambiguity, as one could argue there still is ambiguity right now about COVID and so on and so forth. And so we get to May of 2021. It's supposed to happen in July, and I get a frantic phone call from Blink's agent at like 2 a.m. That says that at the time, he told me about Mark, and Mark from Blink got diagnosed with cancer. Mm-hmm. And so they canceled everything in 2021. Of course, I mean, without question, I understand. I mean, that is just awful. Mark is an idol of mine. But of course, my selfish side is like, are you fucking kidding me, dude? Like, what are the chances that you get Blink, a pandemic hits the first time in 100 years, then you have to postpone, then you postpone it, and then your hero and idol gets fucking cancer. It's just like a sick joke, I mean?
Yeah.
So I had to so that was my catch. The big story there is that was the white whale, so to speak. And, that even for this year, Blink's not playing any shows in 2022 because Mark's recovering and, getting back to, whatever his functional level is. So that couldn't happen for this year either. So it's just, Blink is my white whale for sure. I mean, I'm arguably the biggest Blink-182 fan that there is. And unfortunately, the way of the world is such that it just didn't happen in 2021 or 2022 yet.
Yeah. And I mean, when it comes to, again, that is like, it is that sick joke of, you couldn't have been more excited for something to happen, and then everything falls into place for it not to happen. How do you pick yourself back up from that? Like, I mean, because that's that demoralizing, that's that gut punch that sometimes a lot of people just stay on the canvas and never get back up.
Oh man, that's a great question. Because you know what, man, when I got that phone call, and let me make a priority too, in case Mark is listening, which I'm sure he will be. Mark's health is clearly priority. Us talking about like me being frustrated is secondary, tertiary, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, and as you know,
absolutely. This is no slide against a sick human being. I mean, my heart broke. Like, listen, there's certain few people that, if something were to happen to him, that I would cry. Like Taylor Hawkins passed away. I literally cried in the car on the way home. Like I was crying, and I was just like, there's certain people that just mean so much that you're just like, it's heartbreaking. So I'm glad that he's on the road to recovery. So
yeah, for sure. But when I got that call and I got that email, those set of emails in May, I was like, fuck it, dude. Like I'm just gonna give a refund. You have to understand, you've already, as a festival operator and the live music world, like everybody's asking for refunds. Oh, you moved it from 2020 to 2021. I want a refund. Oh, you moved in 2021 to a different date. I want to it was nonstop. So now, there was a huge part of me that was like, dude, we just need to end it, give a refund to everybody, and just do it in 2022. But like my wife was a really big supporter. Like, some of the guys in my band and my friends are like, dude, like shit happens. This has been the most fucked up last 2 years ever. Why don't you just offer refunds to those that want it and move on? And I did. And it was very difficult to pick it up. And, I remember I relaunched in the beginning of June. And we thankfully, I got Rise Against to fill Blink. Now it's not a 1-for-1 exchange. I mean, Blink is Blink, Rise Against is Rise Against, but it was very, very cool of them to step up. Their agent is unbelievable. Their management was unbelievable. They were very understanding. The timing worked out well. And they stepped up and 2021 Four Chord was unbelievable, dude. It ended up being unbelievable. I'm so happy that I didn't throw in the towel for that year. And it was just a absolute just dream, a part of a dream come true for me. So I'm glad that I didn't throw in the towel and it went great.
No, and that's awesome. And to see other people pick up that torch, like a band like Rise Against, a band for me that are on my list of haven't seen yet, have to see. I almost drove 3 hours overnight to see them, to drive back to where I was to drive another 12 hours home the next day. And my wife
Whoa.
was like, she's like, you're not well. And it was it was Menzinger's, Descendants, and Rise Against, like down in St.
Whew.
Augustine. But
Whew.
my wife made it up to me. I didn't make that drive, so I'm going to see, Rise Against in a couple weeks in August here, Pier 17 in New York City. So I get to see
Nice, man.
that, and I
And
also,
the used is on that,
yeah,
right?
the used is opening that too, and I got to go out for the greatest lineup in my history of going to a show lineup for one show. I got to go out to Denver to see Jawbreaker, Descendants face to face, and Sam I Am.
Oh
So
my
so
God, dude.
it was made up for not making that ride. My wife's like, "You'll figure it out. We'll get you to see where you need to see." But that was
Dude,
my awesome.
whenever Jawbreaker announced those shows, I mean, those Denver shows were the ones, man. They were
Oh,
the ones to go to.
without a doubt. And that was literally, I literally flew out in the morning, went to the show at night, flew home in the morning. Like it was just, I'm not missing this show. It is the greatest thing. And to see that, like, you have the Descendants coming, like, and being I'll say, you're a pop punk kid because you're Blink
Right, right.
182. For me, Descendants was like my life. I'm an 80s, 90s kid.
Hell yeah.
And so for me, the Descendants is something crazy. And to see that, like, you have, Bad Religion, Descendants, Pennywise, like, to start your festival, which is now a 2-day. So let's talk about that as well. It's now a 2-day from a 1-day.
Yeah. Yeah.
So everything, double the pleasure, double the pain, right?
Without question. It is, I mean, it is the days, the weeks and the days of the show. I mean, it's grueling. And, to top it off, like my band plays too. So
Yeah.
that always throws another wrench into it, but it is incredibly, incredibly difficult. There are years prior that there were more. I've learned every year. But this year, hopefully it'll be even a little smoother than it was. But, the 2 days throws in a huge monkey wrench, right? I mean, we start building out the venue on the Wednesday before the Friday. So Wednesday, Thursday, we build out the whole venue. Friday morning, 5 in the morning, bands, tour buses start pulling in because our doors are at VIP doors are 11:30 a.m. So by 11:30, all vendors, all food trucks, all tents, all bands, all security, all food, all liquor, all water, every sound check that needs to get done. It's got to be done from 5 in the morning to 11 a.m. So it becomes incredibly stressful because, everyone's stressed out to begin with. And, these bands like Bad Religion, Descendants, they've been doing this for years. So they've done the Warped Tour, Wake Up, and same type of thing. So, you really want everyone to be happy and stoked. So like I learn every year, like this year we have something called the Hot Beverage Center that's going to open up at 5 a.m. where every band, every crew, starting at 5 in the morning is going to get free coffee, decaf, different roasts, different teas, different pastries, just to like keep everybody kind of like upbeat, So there's little things you learn about trying to keep the vibrato high. Then you run in the risk of rain.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a huge risk. I mean, the weather insurance policies are tens of thousands of dollars you pay for just in case it's going to rain. So, there's a lot of stress. It's a lot of grind. And then here's the kicker, like you said, the second day, 11 p.m., Bad Religion hits their last note. They're moving out. All the green rooms need to be cleaned out. The field needs cleaned. Everything needs restocked. And you're up and at it at 5 a.m. again for the next group of bands to come in.
Yeah. And I mean, and on the next day, your band has to play. So not only are you running this thing,
Yeah.
you have to be prepared to perform as well, which I also have to say, and this is, one of the reasons too, someone who puts something together like this, to not, you're in a band, you're in a fairly successful band. You've had some great success with the things you've done. The music's fucking amazing. You can tell where it comes from. And that you don't put yourself up at the top of the list is commendable as well, because I know a lot of bands and a lot of people that would just be like, all right, well, in between Descendants and Bad Religion, we're going to play.
Well, that's interesting. That's a very interesting thing that you brought up because, and the public doesn't normally know a lot of these things, but I'll tell you what, the hardest thing I've ever dealt with putting on this festival, one of the top 5, maybe it's number 5. I'll talk about the number 1 in a little bit. But the number 5 is the billing. So there is a constant battle and I am being the promoter and the intermediary and the talent buyer between every one of these bands. So it's like, oh, well, so and so, and I'm not necessarily saying this happened this year, but in the past in particular, it's like, well, so and so is bigger. Their agent will make an argument why they need to be billed ahead of it, and we're not playing unless they're billed above so and so. And it becomes this like high school, match against like what band should be billed between what band. So unfortunately or fortunately, my band certainly does not get the primary focal point when you're dealing with some of these bands. Unfortunately, I would say.
And I mean, you bring that up too, and those are some of the things that I've watched in my life and music and seeing that kind of stuff where it's, I my big thing in this show, Hidden Tracks, is to find those smaller bands that need to get a little bit bigger of a push and get new fans and hear how great they are, because they're essentially, it's all about the music. And when it becomes to jockeying for position, it just starts to take away from the enjoyment of what it's all supposed to be,
Oh, dude, nail on the head. Yeah, I agree. And unfortunately, you hear this a lot, and even with my band and like some of the close calls we've had and almost signing to labels and then the festival and management and booking agents and publicists and so on and so forth. It's just like at the end of the day, it's sometimes I can see why people get jaded and they're like, well, dude, like, I don't even want to do this because blah, 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 blah. It's just, there's so much politicking. There's just so much, flexing, just to try to get your way. And it sometimes gets very frustrating. And, I know, a lot of my friends even bring up to me a lot. They're like, dude, like, we don't know how or why you do this at this point, because it's just reached a point where it's all jockeying, but for me, again, the great thing about Four Chord is that every year, say other than one or two, I love so much, like almost all the bands on the show. I mean, like it is to get, I mean, like I did grow up and, I am in my mid-30s, but like I grew up with the Blink and the Drive-Thru records and so on and so forth. But dude, to get Descendants, Bad Religion, Pennywise, Lagwagon, H2O, I mean, like, dude, like those bands are like legends to me. I mean, they're legends.
Yeah,
they're
they're royalty of that scene.
Absolutely. And I mean, and it's real cool. So I'm actually going to release in a couple weeks, the guitar player for Bad Religion, Brian Baker. Mm-hmm. He did a shout out video for Four Chord. And like to see these guys, and like we're releasing a big compilation. A lot of the bands were nice enough to like be like, yo, like we're playing Four Chord, check it out, blah, blah, blah. And like to watch it come out of their mouths, like Brian Baker, like, and he did the coolest one. I cannot wait for the world to see the one that Brian did, dude. It was like, it's so personal. It's so heartfelt. It just makes me like warm and fuzzy inside, knowing that like he's probably as cool as he seems. Mm-hmm. But it just like to hear the bands, like say, like for me, like a band called The Starting Line is one of my favorite bands ever. They're from Horsham, PA. They recorded up in northern New Jersey with Chris Badami. We were just talking. Like Kenny Vasoli is the lead singer of The Starting Line, and they're playing their second time Four Chord. They played Four Chord 4. And for him to be like, yo, we're playing Four Chord music, it still gets me. And like, I still know that I love doing this because like I'm a fan myself, dude. Like it's just so weird that these bands are playing a festival that I started because I am the biggest fan of these bands ever.
Well, I mean, it shines through just even talking to you, like honest, we met a half an hour ago and right. We can talk, you can tell the type of person that you are, that you can just talk openly with someone and someone feels that infectious vibe that you have about something and it rubs off. And the littlest thing, talking about, Baker doing a shout out, like something that someone else might do that seems maybe so small.
Yep.
Just carries you on for days. I mean, I had a moment where, a band that I respect so much and love deeply, all of a sudden I see a music video come on and they're wearing my t-shirt. And I'm like,
oh my God.
I'm like that. And them not knowing, but that alone, that meant everything to me. Like I wanted to cry. I'm like, that to me that's it. Like that's that little tiny respect piece that people don't understand, that goes on forever, and it can carry a person. It can save a life, for crying out loud.
Oh, absolutely, man. Yeah, and I had this big thing, like with me with Blink, to be able to potentially meet, and I don't like force myself, on these celebrities, and I'm not like, yo, like I'm Rishi, it's my festival, like ever. I'm actually too nervous to say anything most often, but like, to meet Mark and be like, it's like I always think to myself, like, people like Mark or Brian Baker, like these people hear this every day of their lives, right? So like, what is it that you could possibly say to get through to a guy like Mark Hoppus for him to like understand like what, like, dude, I grew up watching his DVDs. Like they were called the Urethra Chronicles, and the Blink released them like in the '90s and early 2000s, and like me and my friends like in middle school and high school, dude, like that was our Bible. Like we literally knew everything about Blink, everything about their wives, their kids, like their live performances, what they wore at the live performances on TV, and like what brands they were into. And then like he's like sitting here like potentially was going to sit at my festival. It's like, what could I even say to him without sounding like a total freak and a total creep? That,
Nothing,
like,
nothing,
exactly,
nothing. It's
exactly.
it's all creepy. Listen, I go to shows all the time, and my wife's like, like, no, go say hello. I'm like, what? No, no. And she's like, why are you so afraid? She's like, you talk for a living. She's like, well, how are you? So? I'm like, because there's nothing I can say to this person who, if I
Exactly.
revered my whole life, that's going to make any difference to him and or me. Like I'm gonna feel like a loser no matter what comes out of my mouth.
Yeah, because no matter what you say is not going to be big enough, but equally, no matter what they say, it's not going to be enough for you to satiate exactly that feeling that you want. Like, what I want Mark to do is be like, yo, Rishi, that's awesome. Let's go back to your house and play video games. Let's play Tony Hawk. But like, we know that's not going to happen, right? I mean, that's impossible.
No, that's the pipe dream that we're all looking for, but it really is one of those things. But I mean, the fact that you even come close to having that opportunity, which, God willing, it can happen again somewhere down the road.
Let's hope.
Listen, I look at it, they said yes once, they got to say it again. So
let's hope. But yeah.
But I mean, just even like the other bands, for instance. I mean, how are you choosing, to who you want to reach out to? It's got to be a selfish thing too, because you want to see those bands as well. Like a band such as Jimmy Eat World, they got to be a big part of your life. For the Drive Through Record era is the same era of Jimmy Eat World coming up. So.
Yeah, oh, dude, Jimmy World's my. So it's weird. It's so and I don't. I mean, maybe off the air, off the record, I'll give you maybe the full scoop on it. But I mean, Jimmy World's one of my favorite bands of all time. I mean,
their new song's a fucking banger, man. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. I was so excited. I was like, wow, they're trying something different. This is awesome.
And it's like, dude, like I know that a lot of people say this about bands, but like there legitimately is not a bad record. I don't understand how it's possible. Like there's no bad record by Jimmy Eat World. But anyway, but yeah, Jimmy Eat World's a huge. I mean, I try to start with bands that I love. So like normally like the headliners will be bands that I love. That didn't totally work out this year. I mean, but with particular bands. But then once you get that big band that you love or that big band that you want on, it's like all the agents start calling. Oh, well, you got to put my smaller build band on this, or like you got to put on, so and so because they're on the up and up and they're on the rise. So like, fortunately, I kind of push a lot of that white noise out, and I do pick a lot of the bands. There are a handful of bands on this year that I don't really know anything about, that maybe I'm not huge fans of, but at the end of the day, I'd say 80% of the bands are bands that I love.
That's awesome. Yeah, and trying to push out that white noise, trust me, I feel you. For that kind of stuff of people reaching out and saying, "Oh, you got to do this." And it's just, I commend you for learning how to say no, because I still have a problem with that.
Yeah, it's tough, man. It really is tough.
So you don't have a problem being an asshole to anyone?
Well, I mean, there are a lot of agents. There are a lot of agents that don't like me. There's a lot that don't like me because I really don't give a shit what people think about me. That sounds really bad. Like I don't want you to not like me, Shane, right? I think that we would be friends in real life, not in just podcast life. But like at the end of the day, like I tend to stand up for what I believe is right. And that will polarize people. And agents are no different. Agents, most agents like me, most agents I get along with, some I don't. But I will stand up to what I think, and I'm independent, and I can do that. I don't have to answer to anybody above me. I don't have to answer to Live Nation or some big corporation.
It's
and
a great
I enjoy
feeling.
It that
That's
way.
freeing. Yeah, that's freeing. Listen, my wife says to me a lot too. She's like, I know you don't care what you say, but sometimes maybe you just shouldn't.
I love that.
Because it's true. I'm like that too. I don't give a fuck. I am who I am. I've gotten this far in my life. I'm old now. I don't give a shit. Like I am who I am. That is not going to change me. And when I feel something so strong and I believe in it so strong, I'm just going to say it regardless.
Yeah, I agree. You know, with today's culture, that's hard to swallow for some people. Obviously, the cancel culture world, which you know is a pretty sensitive area in the punk world. It can get you in trouble to some degree. But thankfully, the things that I believe in, I think that are pretty wholesome.
Yeah,
You know,
they
pretty stand
align
up for the
with
right thing.
they align with what people are truly looking for, not the fake stuff they're looking for. They align with the true internal feelings that people have.
Totally, totally, totally. But yeah, it's tough, man. It's tough to balance a lot of it. It's tough to say no. It's tough to you know, and then they start leveraging. Oh well, you know, so and so is. Do you ever want to get so and so? They're on our roster. You're gonna have to put this band on it if you want to get there. And when they say that, dude, I fucking hang up the phone.
Yeah.
I've hung up on I've hung up on a handful of agents recently that it just doesn't fly. There's a million other bands out there that aren't being booked by your agency. Like it's okay if it doesn't work out, you know?
Yeah, and I mean that's the thing too. Like you've gone from one day to two, and my thing is, and my mission statement here on the show is finding the bands that aren't, you know, just super suckers, people just trying to go out there and want to be famous, like finding the true artists and the great music that's out there. And there's so many bands, and
Mm-hmm.
there's so many amazing bands that are out there that does have to be a hard thing for you to do too. Like trying to figure out, okay, here's my want list, here's my need list, here's, you know, another list. I mean, is that how you break it down to try and
Yeah.
choose?
Yeah, for sure. Here's a better question for you. How do you choose you talked about your mantra, but like, what's on your want list? Like, are Descendants on your want list to have on the podcast?
Uh, honestly, and
Honestly.
I'm going to say honestly, no.
So who would be a band that's on your want list, and how, you know, like how does that list come to be?
Um, it's so like for me, my want list, and I've been trying for Trevor Keith, for Face to
Oh, love
Face.
them.
So
Love them. Love it.
he's literally my idol. I mean, getting to meet him last year and speak with him and being able to have the opportunity to tell him to his face that he's on my Mount Rushmore of songwriters. And
Hell
I'm
yeah.
like, you're right next to Petty. And he's like, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard. I'm like, well,
Damn.
I'm like, it's true. I'm like, and I just wanted you to know that. And it is weird that I just said that I wouldn't, you know, want the Descendants like Stevenson or Milo or like because it never came to my mind to think about it. And trust me, listen, I absolutely love them. And I actually, you know, it could be sacrilege, but I kind of liked All better than the Descendants. So, and
Nice.
so it's one of those things. I still have my All Roy for Prez t-shirt from when I saw them
Hell
in
yeah.
the 90s. But
Hell yeah.
it's and I also think that though too is it could be me not also shooting for the stars, because it's almost like that thing that's it's really not fully why I started this endeavor and what I want to do with it. I just
Right.
really I want to help bands. Yeah, I'd love to talk to majorly famous people, but at the same time, what am I going to say or ask a question that has never been asked before?
100% agree with that. And
That's the hardest part.
that's really interesting you said that, because that is almost like where I was going with my list. It's like, you know, for example, so there's a band that I got on the second day of Four Chord this year on the Saturday. They're called Alistair. Alistair was a band that was on Drive Through Records. They were one of the more unsung heroes, in my opinion, of Drive Through Records. They didn't get the attention and the love that I thought that they deserved. I thought that they put out a record in about 2002. It was called Last Stop Suburbia. It's a record that I think you would love. They really cross over. They love the punk rock world. They really were able to merge the two in a very fruitful way, in my opinion. And I love that band. And we became semi-friendly whenever they started a band after that. And they've been on my list for the last 4 years, but they haven't been playing shows because their bass player, Scotty, lives in Japan now, where he's like semi-famous as a musician in Japan. And I just threw it out there. I was like, they're not super famous in the United States or anywhere, right? I mean, it wasn't like a huge ask to get Blink or, you know, even Face to Face, or which, by the way, Face to Face is my favorite punk band to come out of that world in that time by far. They're my favorite punk band, one of my favorite punk bands, if not my favorite punk band in that world ever. But so I just picked up, or not picked up the phone, but I picked up the email and I sent an email to one of the dudes in the band. I was like, hey, I'm doing Four Chord this year. It's grown a lot. I know I mentioned to them years ago, I'd love to have you. And he was like, hey, let's make it happen. So I mean, like those bands, I agree. Like those bands that I love are not the ones that are necessarily Blink size. And they're on my list. I tried getting a band called Rufio this year. They broke up years ago. They have no interest in playing any shows anymore. They were on Militia Group and then Nitro Records. They were on like the whole, like they were like the band that really bridged like technical punk and pop punk together.
Mm-hmm.
And tried getting them. They couldn't do it. So I have a few bands on that list that are personal favorites, but it's got to be anchored by that big band that's going to be the big draw, that's going to bring the attention, because a band like us is being exposed to thousands of more people at this festival than we normally would have when we headlined our hometown in Pittsburgh. So it's important to get that balance of a bigger band along with your homies and along with the people that are on that list.
Yeah, and I mean, let's talk a little bit about, your band. I mean, and to the point where I truly have to say that I'd heard of you. I'd heard of SpacePimps and Eternal Boy, and I'd listened to it a couple times, and I'm like, yeah, another pop punk band. I'm like, all right. And then when I truly started to dive into it, and what I do is I do 5 ways of listening, and then I start to pick my favorite songs, and then I'll pick my favorite songs, and then I'll look to see, what are the most played songs, and then I break it down. I'm like, I am that fucking nerdist that every song that I like is the least, streamed song that they have. And I'm like, this is fucking weird to me that I always go to something that no one else likes. And I'm like, maybe this show will never be successful because the bands I'm featuring, I think are fantastic. And everybody else is like, yeah, I
don't know. That's awesome. That's a really good way to listen to music. Not many people do that anymore.
Yeah. It's because like I said, I'll state it till the day that I'm old now, okay? And I grew up in the era of, listen, it was a commitment for music. Like, and I'm staring at that commitment right now in my little basement studio. I'm staring at the commitment filled with CDs, tapes, and vinyl, like massive. Well, if you were here, you see this, you'd be like, what the fuck, dude? But it was a commitment because every dollar I made, it went to buying something. And then I had to be committed and I had to learn to like it. That was the big thing. And I think that's the big difference nowadays. You can just skip to the next one.
Oh, dude, you just said, oh my God, I love that. Yeah. I think there's a physicalness that people in the 90s and the boom of the music industry. And even I would say for me, I mean, dude, I'm the same way, like, I mean, I'm in my mid 30s, but like I have thousands of CDs. I have all the original vinyls that I got then, being like, not knowing it would come back. But there's a physicalness, like there's an ownership of like going to a record store, picking out the CD, buying it for $18, unwrapping it, looking through the liner notes, putting the CD, like the physical ownership of doing it. You're doing the music is so much different now than just tapping.
And that is the thing. I get more enjoyment of walking over to my CD player and putting in a CD and knowing that I got 12 songs that I'm going to listen to from the same band, instead of picking up on my phone and like, if I don't like it, I can just go to the next one like very easily. And it, even though you can have a remote, like I leave my remotes on the stereo. So like if it's on, it's on. Right. But I just love that feeling, because also still to this day, like I'll be listening to stuff and like newer bands and stuff. There's a band that I did this with from Sweden called Braincoats. Fucking amazing band, where all of a sudden I didn't realize every song that they put out on 3 records. I put all 3 in my 6th changer, all 3 records. I'm like, it just felt like I just spent 3 hours with the greatest band of all time, because there was no other choice.
Right.
So I learned to love it more than what I originally bought it for. And that's the kind of stuff that today that it kind of saddens me in a way. It's also great that it's so easy and accessible. And that's why I just try to weed through the shit and pull out the stuff that people may not have heard of and be like, hey, you have to listen to this because they're fantastic.
Yeah, you may have missed great. Them. That's great. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I was the kid that would go into like a record store in middle school and buy the compilations. So so that's where you can actually see the bridge starting to happen from where we are. It went from like 8 tracks, cassettes, full CDs, then like compilation CDs, then Napster, then you go from Napster to mp3.com, then Pure Volume, then MySpace, then streaming, then iTunes, right? So like it's like the evolution actually is pretty logical, but like that's how I eventually got, into like, for example, like, dude, like I love the Fat Records compilations, the
Oh,
Punkorama compilations.
yeah.
Like that's how I got into, like I got into pop punk through Blink and through Drive Through Records and through Vagrant Records, but like I actually got into punk after those bands. So like when I was like, I don't know, I was probably 12 and 19 in 2000, and 2001, and like I got into punk like backwards. And appreciated even more when I saw that Travis Barker had a Descendants tattoo on his leg. That in the Blink 182 documentary, all they did was talk about They talked about Descendants. They talked about Jawbreaker. They were listening to Dear You in the background of their tour bus getting ready to go on stage. And I was like, what song is that? Like, we got to figure that out. And it took me and my friends almost 2 months, right? Because there wasn't Shazam then. There wasn't Siri then, to figure out that was Dear You by Jawbreaker,
Yeah. And they had to pull that right away because Jawbreaker hated it. So
yeah, exactly.
Exactly. And listen, for I till the day I die, it's the second emo album of all time. The first one, Sunny Day Real Estate's Diary, and the second one is Jawbreaker's Dear You. And I don't care who wants to fight me over it, but Dear You was an emo record.
Dude, it really was. I mean, what's my favorite song on that is Bad Scene, Everyone's Fault.
Mm-hmm.
That was like the song that got me, that like connected me to like the Descendant world. Right, the Jawbreaker Descendant world, but without Blink, and that's what people are saying today, like with Machine Gun Kelly and this. So, like, obviously, I think it's absolute first class dog shit. It's not even anywhere near pop punk rock. It's nowhere near it. And people are being like, oh, well, at least Machine Gun Kelly's going to make people go back and listen to Blink and then go back and listen to this. I'm like, dude, they're never going to make it back that far.
No, they're not.
There's no way they're going to go. It's 3 generations removed.
Yeah, and their attention span is for right now and what's next, not what came before.
100%.
No one goes backwards.
That should be the name of a book. Attention span is what was it? What'd you say?
What's next, not what came before.
Oh, that sounds like I'm going to write that down. That's a song idea right there. I'll quote you. I'll give you points.
Okay, thank you. And again, it is the truth, but it's also, I mean, the reason why it's popular is because a lot of people that make it popular like it for what it is right now, and I understand that. And the word pop, I've said it here many a times. The word pop just means accessible. It means your mother, your father, your brother, your sister, your grandmother, your cousin, anybody can like it. Pop just means accessible. That's really all it does.
I fucking love that. I love that description. Not to divert away, but this reminds me of that. On top of the festival and on top of being in the band, I'm actually a college professor. So I have a PhD in marketing, and one of the papers I wrote during grad school was on pop music, and the title of the paper was Simplicity, Reflexivity, and Accessibility: The Phenomenology of Pop Music. And that is exactly what people don't understand. Pop music isn't just Carly Rae Jepsen. It isn't just Britney Spears. There's a reason why pop music is that way, and it's the accessibility that nobody ever acknowledges that part to it.
No, and that's where I use I love the fact that I've been with my wife for a very long time now, and when I found her shivering in a corner and she didn't know what music really was because she was a top 40. She was into pop because that's what she knew, and then I started branching her out. But I still use her as a guide for bands that I have on the show. I'll just be like, hey, check this out. She's like, wow, this is really good. I'm like, okay, good. Okay. All right. And like, sometimes she's like, I don't get it. She goes, I'm sure, I've had hardcore, bands on here. And she's like, I don't get it, but I'm sure it's really good. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, for sure.
There's certain bridges she hasn't been able to cross, but I mean, hey, listen, she went to Furnace Fest with me last year, so that was a big move in and of itself for her to just be like, yeah, no, I'm doing this. So
is she not? She didn't come from that world.
No, she didn't come from that world. She came from top 40 and the hip hop generation of the the early aughts, as we call them. So that was
Wow.
like her type of style. And then me trying to introduce her, I'm like, yeah, no, like Jay-Z's great, but like here you go, he's phenomenal, but I'm gonna give you something of where he came from. Like here's Tribe, here's De
Ooh,
La Soul, here's Farside. This this is where it
dude.
came from. So listen to that. And then she's like, oh wow, this is, I'm like, yeah. Like there's let's go backwards. Like that's always my thing. Like, why is this what it is? Where did it come from? And that's
Don't
the
you do don't you just wish that people were, kids today were that inquisitive? It's like the internet in many ways has killed that zest for knowledge, because and that search, and that adventure of trying to figure things out, because it just has every answer for you.
Absolutely. I mean, I did my nephew in his 20s. I mean, when he started listening to music and getting into music and wanting to talk to me about music because he knows what it means to me, and I just started handing him old things. Here you go. Listen to this. Listen to this.
Huh, nice,
Show your
nice.
friends this. Listen to this. And then it just broadened his horizons to just be like, oh, holy shit. Yeah, there was a world before you, man. And there was a world before the music you're listening to. It all came from somewhere. So,
Yep.
like, you got to pay homage to to the people who did it first that may not have been as huge. Like, to think about the fact that the Descendants, who they are, and you can say the Descendants to people, right? And I got to say, probably 80% of the people will absolutely know the name The Descendants. May not know their
Hmm.
music, but they know the name.
Hmm.
they're
Agreed.
not they're not fucking gazillionaires. They don't live in mansions. They weren't on cribs like Blink. What, you know what I mean? Like, and
Of
it's
course.
that
Of
type of
course.
thing where it's like, I guess now people are just paying tribute to everyone who came before them and paved the way to allow them to do what they do today and make money at it.
Yeah, and actually that brings up a question. Like when I was like into it in high school, and got into the scene or whatever in the pop punk world and drive through in that whole world, right? I knew that, like exactly like you described. I knew Descendants, but were they touring, and were they big then?
No,
Like were they?
no, back. I mean, they would get back together sporadically, because Milo is a fucking scientist, and I mean, he left the
Right, right.
band to want to go on to do that. That's why All became, Stevenson just wanted to keep playing and did All, and then there was a lot of things going back and forth, and so many bands that derived and came. Goodbye Harry broke off, from All, and then it would come back sporadically and be like, oh, Descendants are playing 3 shows, and then they
Right,
wouldn't record an album, and then recently they got back together and been recording again, but it wasn't like they were big. They weren't playing. You wouldn't
right,
see
right,
them,
right.
and then if they were playing, it was some show just because someone happened to be in the area, and hey, let's get together and put on 3 shows real quick. But and it was like small 900 people venues, and it's still
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
that way, like,
yeah.
and it's crazy
Oh,
to think that.
it is crazy to think that, but I mean, it's what's crazier to think that is that the longevity of bands like that, first of all, are crazy, and playing a 900 cap at 500 to 1,000 cap space a night is a very, very good living for a band. That
Yes.
is a very good living. I mean, you got to think, and I'm not giving numbers that pertain to four chord, because festivals are different than touring shows, but you know, I mean, to play to 800 to 1,000 people a night as Descendants, you are in the upper class. I mean, you are in the upper class in terms of um, your economic outlook, and that's crazy to think, right? Because these bands started, playing dives, in the 80s, 70s, 80s, 90s, right? I mean, like it's just crazy to me in a great way that what the only good thing to come out of, I think, technology over the last 15 years is being able to capitalize on niches, right?
Yeah.
You can have the first person comes to mind. I just talked about him today on a podcast I did. His name's Gary Vaynerchuk. He's a totally annoying, self-righteous prick that is a now billionaire media mogul. But you'll see him on TikTok. He gives motivational speeches and shit like that. But he started his whole $1 billion media empire started because he loved wine. And in the early 2000s, he got a webcam. He recorded himself drinking wine, talking about wine. Ended up building a 300, 400, $500,000 subscriber or 500 person YouTube channel, and ended up becoming famous through that. Like you can monetize even the most niche areas, right? Nowadays, and punk happens to be one of those niche areas that people can capitalize on.
Yeah, without a doubt. And so you brought up something, and I want to ask you from your perspective of someone who's in a band and reading an article recently, and it was bands who are huge in Europe, not big in the U.S., and there's no rhyme or reason. And one of my favorite bands in the world is a band called Biffy Clyro, Scottish band.
Oh,
It,
Tiny Indoor Fireworks is my favorite song I've heard in the last 2 years.
So they have been a huge part of my life for a very long time. And I see them constantly at Irving Plaza. And literally the last time they played Irving Plaza was a couple months ago. 2 nights before, they sold out the O2 Arena.
Oh,
and then they
gosh.
come play Irving Plaza, and there's still tickets available.
Huh.
So, I mean, you guys had a very big following in Japan and China. And
Yep.
What did you feel any attributing factor of why it hit differently somewhere else?
Dude, these questions. You really did your research, and I appreciate that. For a band as small as we are, I really appreciate you doing that. First of all, yeah. So that's a really interesting question. We have toured Japan numerous times, China, UK, all of which I would say we are bigger in those countries. And I can't really explain it. The first time we went to Japan, we were the SpacePimps. It was like 2009, something like that. And what happened is we got a MySpace message from this record label called Kick Rock Music in Japan. I didn't know anything about it. I saw that they had signed and worked with some bigger bands in the UK. So of course, we signed, and before we knew it, our record got released there. It was doing well, so we heard, and they were like, "Yo, you guys got to come to Japan and play this festival," and a couple shows around that festival. So I'm like 19 years old, So this is like the fucking dream come true. It's like we made it at that point, and so we go to Japan, and it's a different world, dude. We get there, our CDs record is in every HMV, every Tower Records, and at that point there were record stores at every corner. So the only thing I can explain about Japan is that they're about 8 years behind the United States. And that same time, about 2009, 2010, we went back there in 2012, 13. We played a festival, and across the street at the Tokyo Civic Center, Lagwagon was playing. 3 nights, sold out every night. It was a 4,000 capacity arena, like Civic Center. Now I love Lagwagon, but Lagwagon in Pittsburgh, they play a 400-person club, and there's 350 people there.
Yeah.
Right? So it's just like, I don't know what it is. They and it's changed now. Japan is not what it was then. It's really started to, get watered down, and it's not the same way that it was then. But there was a point in time in Japan and China and these countries where they could not get enough of punk music, dude. And bro, we went into a Tower Records to buy a record, and there were cardboard cutouts of us we had no idea, dude. This is like me coming, like a total oblivious Westerner coming to Japan, like being like, oh cool, we're gonna play some shows, dude. It was I wish it's gonna be shit that I tell grandkids if I ever have it.
My buddy, one of my dear friends, he's a magician, and he actually just fooled Penn and Teller on that TV show. But he went to Japan. Wow. They asked, years ago, he went to Japan, and they wanted him out there, and he came back, and he just says to his wife, he's like, just so you know, I can leave you whenever I want, because you have no idea how big I am in Japan. Like, he's like, you have no idea.
That's funny. That's great. It's a weird time. It's a really, I don't want to say it's a weird place, because it's the greatest place ever. And if you have ever a chance to go there, you should go. But it's just like a weird perception of American punk music. At least it was. I know it's not like that anymore. And they don't really do much touring. Bands don't go to Japan often anymore. But yeah, it's that way in the UK too now, man. I mean, we've toured the UK twice in the last. Don't just not talk about the pandemic, but 2016 to 2020, we were there 3 times, two times. So I mean, it's and it's a different world there too, man. It's a different world there too.
Yeah, and so I want to dive in. I know Blink-182 is a huge band in your life, and do you remember as a small child, like what the first music like you started listening to? Did you come from like a family that had a lot of music being played all the time? Like, do you remember something that sparked an interest of music as a small child?
Great question, man. These are great questions. These are awesome questions. And so I have a really weird upbringing. My dad is 100% Indian. Like, he's brown. He's from Africa, but his family's Indian. He moved to America in the 1970s, and my mom's from Pittsburgh. So my dad was he's a medical doctor. but he is heavily into Indian music. So growing, and my mom was heavily into the Beatles and that whole world. So the music actually that was played around my house a lot was all Indian music, Asha Bhonsle, like a Lata Mangeshkar, like these like famous Indian like musicians. And so my dad was always really supportive, but like no, there wasn't any like the first record I ever bought was actually Prince. First CD I ever bought was Prince, the Gold Experience. My first cassette tape was Richard Marx. So I got into
Hold On
pop
to the
music.
Night, Richard Marx?
Yes. Yes.
Which actually, before I'm not going to shit on Richard Marx. His book's phenomenal. If you ever want to read, I read a lot of.
Dude, you are the second person this week that told me that.
Yeah,
you are the second person this week that told me that.
It's fantastic. It's a great book, and there's so much in there that if you get the time, because you're such a busy individual, if you take the time to read it, and when you're done, you'll be like, Richard Marx may be one of the coolest fucking people ever.
I'm gonna have to read it now, dude. I'm actually reading right now, not to get sidetracked. I'm finishing up the book Sellout.
Oh, it's, by Dan. Yeah,
Dan Ozzie. Yeah,
I just got it. I didn't finish reading it yet, but yeah, no, it's great stories, man. Music books are fucking fantastic for me.
Oh, dude, I'm gonna put the Richard Marx one on my list. But yeah, so I got those first, and then I really owe my sister to getting into punk rock. She got in the '90s. She got into like a lot of those crossover bands that like they're real weird to me now thinking back, but like the first Incubus record, a band called The Flies. She got into early No Doubt. Like these crossover bands that like were on the radio, but like weren't punk, but like really allowed the bridge for punk to get to the mainstream. So I attributed all of that shit to her. I stole my first record that I took from her was Blink-182's Dude Ranch. And that was their major label debut. And my first proper concert was Everclear, Space Hog, Tracy Bonham, and 7 Year Bitch. And then my second show I went to, I was 11. I went with my Indian father to the Snowcore tour with Blink. It was Blink, Primus, and the Aquabats.
Wow.
So I got into like that weird, I don't even know what to call it. We'll call it like new punk. I don't know what it was then, but it was bands that like crossed over. But so I got really into pop early. Then I got into like musicals. I was Tevye on Fiddler on the Roof, like in school, like in my school plays and musicals and shit. And I think that it's something about like that punk world of not giving a shit, skateboarding, like surfing. It was just such like a counterculture that like it just drew its attention to me. It drew me in.
Listen, it drew me in too. I was a skateboarder and a drama nerd. So like,
hell yeah, dude.
I was in Play Fame and Wizard of Oz. Like I did all that. And listen, one of my favorite soundtracks in my life that is a desert island for me is the Les Mis soundtrack, because I've seen it so many times. But it did that punk rock attitude is that I don't give a shit. Like whatever you think you think of me or you think you know me, you don't. So I don't care. I'm going to listen to what I want to listen to.
I agree completely. That's what punk is. Punk to me is just like standing up for what you believe in, and
all aspects.
All aspects, exactly. Politically, sociopolitically, economically, it's all. That's what, and that's just real funny to me. Like, my wife was talking about how like there's this like documentary on Hulu now that came out about MGK, and like the preview that came up and was like, he was like, yeah, the world didn't think I was punk, but like I showed them wrong. And I'm thinking to myself, like, dude, like being punk is like not having to tell the world that you showed them wrong.
Yes.
You know what I mean? it's like acting like you've been there before, acting like it's not your first beer. So for me, I agree with you 100%. And that's why I got into like theater, and like that's why I got into like punk music. I went to the strict private high school, dude. Like I had purple hair, because Mark from Blink in the Josie video had purple hair. Like I like it's just like I never like fit in, but what was really interesting, and this is probably before your time, don't know how old you are, what you mean by old, but being in my mid-30s, it was like being different at that point in like 2004 and 2005, like 2002, 2003, like being different to the mainstream was then being accepted because of Blink, because of Green Day, because of like the big onslaught of like this punk world into the mainstream. And so people now, like when you walked in and you had purple hair, like the captain of the football team and the cheerleaders are like, whoa, like what's that dude all about? Like maybe I should go check out his show. Like it started becoming more acceptable. And when it got acceptable, is when it got uncool for me.
Yeah, well, and that was I'll tell you that exact moment that happened because I was in high school that exact moment when it happened. It was when
Okay.
Dookie came out.
There you go, dude.
That was the exact moment because 2 years prior, I was being made fun of by the captain of the football team because I was wearing a Green Day Kerplunk shirt and had fucking green hair. And,
oh yeah.
And even at that age, and yeah, so I'm probably 10 years or more older than you.
Right.
But that was the exact moment. I know for a fact that was because Dookie came out. I was like, it was amazing. I was at the store the day it came out. I couldn't wait for it to come out. I called 104.3. It was the alternative station in New York City, and asked them to play When I Come Around by Green Day. And the guy goes, "Who is that? We don't have that. I don't know what you're talking about." 6 months later, it was the only song they played, and then the captain of the football team drives up in his brand new Jeep his daddy bought him, blasting Green Day, and I was like, everything just changed.
Oh, dude, that must have been. I keep thinking, man, like for your generation, I'm so glad I'm talking to you about this because I was thinking about this the other day. It's like, dude, the way that I got mad when Blink went to mainstream must be the same way you got mad when Punk made it to mainstream.
Yeah.
So like that Green Day time, the Blink time, like I can see why probably guys like you were really put off by it because I was put off by it when it went emo, you know, and like it went into Hot Topic and like that whole world. So like if you follow the lineage back, you can probably see, you know, that same evolution.
Yeah, and since there's such a huge part of your life, I don't know if you have this, but I'm currently holding in my hand because I sit in front of my entire CD wall.
Yeah, sorry, my dog's barking.
Yeah, no, that's all right. We're a pet friendly show. We have many dogs. We just put a disclaimer out at some point. If you have a dog and you're listening to this podcast, your dog may bark too.
he's a rescue dog and he's deaf too, so that makes it even worse. He doesn't know how loud he is. All right, we're good.
But I'm holding in my hand something that I bought at a record store in 1994.
Uh-oh.
It is Blink, not Blink 182. Blink, Cheshire Cat.
Oh God.
On Cargo Records, the original that I bought, handpicked, didn't know what it was. Still says Blink on it. The original CD that may need to be yours if you don't have it.
Dude, bro, first of all, I'm in my office right now. I'm moving over and looking at my the CDs. I bought that on eBay about 6 years ago for $198.
All right. I'm just sitting here holding it in my hand, and I remember the day I bought it. And I was like, wow, this is cool. This is different. And listening to this album, remember listening to it in my car on the way home from the record store. Someone could have bet me $1 million if Blink would have been a band that made it, and I would have said no.
Dude, my friends and I talk about this all the time. Like, dude, if my first exposure to Blink was going to be like fucking their Fly Swatter cassette demo or like their like Buddha, like I'd be like, dude, like I like this. It's sloppy, like that's what I'm into. But like, I never in a million years would have guessed that like Carousel, like Toasted Bananas, like Depends, like these songs ultimately then go into Dude Ranch and go. I mean, it's almost nonsensical.
Yeah, and that's what happens to me with music. That's why I get so jaded sometimes with stuff, is because I don't understand how there's people like MGK who are the fucking toast of the town, who can suck a fat one. And you got bands who are out there playing, like, for instance, last night, I go see Nate Bergman, Jeremy Innick, and No Devotion. And Nate Bergman is just one of the most soulful singing guys in the world. Jeremy Innick, he will make you fucking cry. He doesn't miss a note, and he's just brilliant. And I'm like, wow, how does the fucking whole world not know who this guy is? But fucking MGK is everyone's got to love him. I don't get it.
I agree with you, man. And you know, I feel like if those dudes you just named, like if they did make it to the mainstream, it would ruin it. I mean, it would ruin it. It's like the fact that they hold like, and they probably are totally fine with it too, you know?
Oh,
like they're fine with what they're doing too. And I think about that. Like the thing that I always loved about Blink is they got mega success, but like it always felt like they were one of us. And I think that was like part of the like the attraction for a guy like me and like my friends and I to get into Blink. Like I look at MGK and it's like, dude, I'm nothing like this guy. Nobody, like the gross majority of young people can't be like this guy. Like
No.
the guys in Blink until Travis now, and he's changed a lot, believe me. But like
Yeah.
I'm talking like the Scott Rayner days before Travis, when he was the original drummer of Blink. It's like, dude, those dudes married their high school sweethearts, or like they met their wives. They weren't celebrities. Like there's something about like that authenticity that I just feel like goes a long way. Like same with the guys in Green Day to some degree. I mean, they're mega huge, right?
Yeah.
But like I don't know, but something about the
I think
and
they're
I'll tell you
still
off
who
the
they are.
record.
Like I don't think they that they have that that shitty attitude when it comes to who they are. Like and I think that's the big thing. Like listen, don't get me wrong, DeLonge's gone off the deep end a little bit with certain things, but I mean like I think just being who they are from the day that they started is and having success that you have is pretty awesome, and it's something that I have a hard time, and I just think he's a brilliant man, like with Dave Grohl, and where
Yeah.
I love everything he does, but at the same point, it's always funny to me, and my friends always make fun of me because I love what he does, but at the same time, when I'm done watching something that say he does, I'm like, he he really only did that for himself. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
you think so?
It's like it's a weird thing. I don't know what it is that it brings me to that feeling, but it's just weird.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that was pretty self-serving. Like that's the kind of, and I'm like, I still loved it, but I'm like, at the end, I'm like, that just seemed a little self-serving.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's weird, and it's a weird thing because I still loved it, but at the same time, like at the end, I'm like a little disgusted that I liked it because I'm like, it seemed a little self-serving at the end of it.
Oh, I agree, man. That's actually really well put. I, I guess I've been too scared to maybe acknowledge that just because it's Dave Grohl. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying? But like, I think that you actually like kind of highlighted something that I agree with. It does seem like a lot of the things end up being about him. Like he does cool shit for people, and like he's probably a great dude to hang out with. But
yeah.
yeah, it kind of does feel a little self-serving, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I'm sorry if I just ruined your vision of someone, but it
No,
really
no, no,
it's
no.
it's listen, it's I'm an opinionated asshole. I'm not ashamed to admit it, and I'm entitled to my opinion. That's why but that's how I feel.
I agree. I agree. No, and yeah, I think that I guess I hope if I do end up getting Blink, like it, I hope that all of nothing like we talked about, nothing I'm going to say is ever going to make me to him is ever going to like suffice what I want him to say. But like you always hope in the back of your brain because I've had some terrible experiences with bands on four chord over the last 8 years, man. I mean, some awful
I can
ones.
imagine. You and I can talk offline, and you can tell me the awful stories, and I'll tell you some weird stories that I can't talk about on the show either. But
Definitely, yeah. But I mean, it's a definitely four chord has definitely kind of made me appreciate authenticity, which really helped me realize why I like a lot of the music that I like. And at the end of the day, you know, this year was very close to being it for me if I had gotten Blink. But of course, they're not playing, which is great, which is fine. But that would have been it for me. With that first day with Bad Religion Descendants. I mean, remember Blink brought Bad Religion on tour with them on their first arena tour
yeah,
in 2000. So I mean, like I think that really would have encapsulated a lot of those authentic bands that I would have wished I could have had.
yeah, it's like that full circle moment, and you're just like, oh, look at this, like it just all worked.
Yep.
Now, being a musician, I mean, what was growing up with some, different styles of music in the house, which is pretty fucking cool to have, a wide array to pull from.
Hmm.
I grew up on doo-wop and jazz because of my parents, and then they got older, and then I had to listen to the Gordon Lightfoot bullshit that my dad got into later on. But I mean, when you said you stole that CD from your sister, Dude Ranch, I mean, what was your next rabbit hole? Did that just open up this massive rabbit hole for you to just start diving in and finding stuff? And were you like already playing music? Like, did you have the pivotal piano lessons like so many of us had when you were growing up, or how did it all start? Like, how did you start finding your way into that music after stealing that CD from your sister and then wanting to play music?
I mean, yeah, I love going back in the past. I think about those moments because sometimes I overlook it, and this is forcing me to think, and I love it. And yeah, I got that CD probably in sixth grade, fifth or sixth grade, and it got me into alternative culture in general. So like, maybe I started going, and though this is stupid and saying this out loud now in my 30s, I'm like embarrassed, but like it got me going to like Pacific Sunwear, right? Like
Yeah.
going to the mall and like not going to like, like I don't even know where I would go before that, like Old Navy. It got me to like PacSun. Then you get to PacSun, and I remember seeing the first ever Vans like skate video when I'm like in fifth grade, and I'm like, oh, what's this? And then I see in the background Goldfinger's being played, Superman by Goldfinger's
Yeah.
being played in the background. And I'm like, what the fuck is that? Like they're skating to it, and then like you go and you buy your first pair of Vans, and like then the internet's like barely a thing at that point. But you get hold of Tony Hawk Pro Skater, and that was it. Like Tony Hawk Pro Skater like opened me up to a bunch of bands.
Yeah, those
That culture,
soundtracks. Yeah.
yeah, dude, it really opened me up. And then it's like, oh, cool. So skateboarding, and then then like you're watching MTV waiting for like Blink's new single to come out, or like I remember the Josie video was out on MTV, but then what they coupled with that video premiere was the MTV Sports and Music Festival, and at it was Blink, it was Goldfinger, it was NoFX, and then so I'm like, who are these bands? So then like I go to the record store and I'm like, oh well, what's NoFX? And I'm like, oh well, they're on Fat Records. And like, oh, what's this record? Like you see, then you start
Yeah.
digging as a kid, and like you get so involved, and like like you said, you've bought into it at that point. You put so much time and effort that you buy into it. And then my sister got a guitar. I don't know if you remember in Jersey, they had these like department store like things called service merchandise.
Oh, I do. I had one right connected to the food store that I used to go to growing up. Yeah. I was
Yeah.
literally 3 days ago, someone was talking about service merchandise. We were having conversations about
Wow.
it.
I was real young, but I remember my sister got like a $60 service merchandise guitar, acoustic guitar that sat in her room. And then I remember I had taken piano lessons, as you mentioned. My mom and dad made my sister and I take piano lessons, and I never like liked it, but I liked the final product. So like I would memorize the songs. I wouldn't learn how to actually sight read. So like the piano teacher would play it, and I would like memorize it. And so like through that, I got a really good ear for like understanding like where things were and the scale of things. And I ended up picking up the guitar, and I learned "Damn It" on
Of
guitar,
course.
which is like, of course, like the nursery rhyme, easiest thing you could do, and just taught myself from there. I mean, at that point, I didn't even start a band until I was a senior in high school. Like I didn't even think about it, didn't think it was an option. And then like Blink started going to the mainstream like when I was a freshman in high school. Like mega mainstream, like past Enema of the State, like they were on Take Off Your Pants and Jacket at that point, and beyond. And then I just started getting involved in the local scene, and that's when everything got easier for me.
Yeah.
We started getting involved with a lot of the local VFW shows, and you could play a show, a local show in Pittsburgh on Friday, Saturday night at a VFW, and every show was sold out. Doesn't matter how bad of a band you were, the scene was bursting at the seams. And it was just,
That's awesome.
you could feel and you could palpate where this was going, and to be part of that world was something that I wish I could forget about and relive again. Like have it like Men in Black me and forget everything that I had done at that time, and go back and relive and appreciate it and accept it, and just realize, because I thought it was going to be forever. And then there was a band from Pittsburgh that really got me going, and they were called Punchline. They're still a band. They celebrated their 25-year anniversary in Pittsburgh this past weekend, and they kind of set the tone. Same with Anti-Flag from Pittsburgh. They set the tone for like how you're supposed to be in a band. You're supposed to tour. You're supposed to play shows. You're supposed to build your local following first. Like we followed those steps, and when I started a band, it was like the playbook was already there. We built our scene in Pittsburgh. We became one of the biggest bands in Pittsburgh in our genre. We still are to this day, and that ethos was inherited through that punk ethos of community. Because remember, that community wasn't just music; it was surfing, it was skating, it was culture, it was clothing, it was VFW. I mean, it was just bursting at the seams, and then I lived through that. The jump to the mainstream when I remember you could turn on MTV on any given day, and the top 10 videos, 7 of them were pop punk bands. Blink 182, Newfound Glory, Sum 41, Good Charlotte, Simple Plan, Bowling for Soup. In 2002, all of them were in the top 10 videos in the world at that point. And at that point, it just was a steady decrease.
Yeah.
They'd reached their peak, and for that point, there was nothing left to do, really.
No, I mean, if you didn't start your first band until a senior in high school, I mean, what was the name of your very first band name?
So before I started a band by myself, that like if I had members when I was a sophomore, we were called. I called it Batteries Not Included. It sounds like a really shitty ska band name now that I think about it. Oh man.
When was your first live performance in front of strangers then?
In a band, not in theater. I'd say, but the end of my junior year of high school. Yeah, junior. We played at my high school, and then that summer we recorded our first like EP, and that ended up being great. And that summer was the game changer for us. Going from junior to senior year, we started getting opportunities, and then we recorded another 3-song EP when I was a senior in high school that had a song called "Tell Me Why" on it. That was like the song that opened every door we ever had that got me to where I am today. It got us on Warped Tour the summer after senior year. It got us in the offices of Sony Music when I was 17 years old to almost get signed to Sony. It got us everything we could think of. Every piece of opportunity we had was because of that song "Tell Me Why."
Now, having such success so early on, I mean, were you jaded at any point to just be like, oh, this is easy? Did that pop into your mind? Because I'm sure at some point it may have or it may not. I wasn't in your mind back then.
Definitely did. At first it was like we watched all these DVDs of our favorite bands. All these bands got signed. They toured. It was like we skipped all of the hard work of having to figure that out because of bands like Anti-Flag and Punchline that were like, yo, you got to tour. Yo, you got to play shows. So like we did all that thinking that was just like what you did. Like I didn't understand at that point that like you weren't supposed to build your local scene. So we were playing Pittsburgh, 3 times a week for a year, dude. Like, you think about that now, it's like we played Pittsburgh realistically 5 times a month for an entire year. And by the time we graduated high school, it was like, oh, cool. We can play our biggest club size venue in Pittsburgh and sell out at 17 years old. And so that caught wind. I think that helped. But yeah, my senior year, dude, like I would never forget, like we played this thing called the the New York City Film and Music Festival, where we played Madison Square Garden when I was 17 years old. And I was like, well, this fucking cool. I remember the Donnas played, the U's played. It was like a fucking weird thing. It was so weird. But and that got us this opportunity to like that Sony saw us in New York, and like it was like we thought we were gonna sign, but then like thankfully our parents like were smart and we're like, yo, you guys aren't signing this. This is like giving yourselves up, and every penny you'll make for the rest of your life. And we never that was a huge learning experience for me too. But yeah, it got me jaded at first, but then, dude, I just got to the grind and I've not looked back. We have met with every big independent record label you can think of, every major label, and like, dude, we've never signed. And it's because, I don't know, I learned that like you're not like you shouldn't give up your equity before you've even started, So we I was jaded at first, but now, dude, like I just love the process at this point.
Yeah, and you got your own thing with 4-chord music, and you're doing stuff on your own, which is righteous in and of itself. And there's some moments in your career, some amazing things happening to you, for you, and what was the moment when you decided to, I know you had these opportunities to sign things, but where you really said to yourself, I'm just gonna do it, like Sinatra says, my way?
Dude, these are such good questions. I love talking about DIY. I realized when we changed the band name from the SpacePimps to Eternal Boy, that happened in 2017. It's very recent. 2016, 2017. We were chasing that dream. We met with a label. They were like a huge independent label. They're like, you got to change the band name. And I literally told them in the office in California, I was like, well, I'm not fucking changing it. You're not telling me to change it. I was like, and then like realizing later, like, I don't want to be in a band called the SpacePimps. And like, I ended up just doing it anyway. I don't know. It was so fucking stupid when I think about that. But at that point I was like, I'm not relying on anybody else but me. I'm going to start my own label. Distribution is easy to get these days. I think I was probably 20. It's probably 20. When was I that? I was probably 28. I was like, this is bullshit. The industry is so fucked. It's I'll never forget. Like we met with the label too that time, and they were like, yeah, like you need to change the band name. You need to move towards this direction. And oh, by the way, you need to lose 20 pounds. And I was like, dude, fuck this.
Yeah, fuck you, man.
I just fucking left that and had 80 Del Tacos after that, dude. I was just like, this is ridiculous. And at that point, I was like, dude, like we're not chasing this. Like you can have popularity and be a self-sustainable band, which we are, without the bullshit of the label. And so I started Four Chord Music 2017. Eternal Boy's first record under the name Eternal Boy came out 2017, and we charted on 5 of the top Billboard charts the week it came out. So you're damn right. I emailed that label with a middle finger emoji and a screenshot of the Billboard charts when that happened.
Yeah, and I mean that's the punk rock attitude, staying true to yourself and doing what you feel is right inside. I mean, and that's what's amazing about your story and why it's been so easy for us to continue. And we're over an hour, and I don't give a shit. But when it comes down to that, and just giving that middle finger to people and just being like, I tried to show you that I thought I wanted you, but I never needed you. And you brought up the age that you were. And this is a thing that I've tried to explain to younger people and family members and stuff. And because it happened to me, and, I thought I grew up fast because I was in the military, stationed overseas,
damn, dude.
Stupid shit. And
when were you stationed? When were you stationed overseas?
96. So
Jesus,
yeah.
Dude.
So like thinking that when I came out of the military that I was a man and like I can make my own decisions. You brought up that age 28, and I've tried to have conversations with younger people and tell them that I truly, as a man, and I've seen it in other people, the ages of between 27 and 30, I truly believe is when you become the person you're supposed to be in life. Like when you said 28, I was like, yeah, like when I was like 29, I was like, all right, this is who I was supposed to be my entire life. It just took me a long time to get here. And everything I thought before was fucking wrong. And, and it just started to change things, and it literally changed my life for the better. And just, having that moment where it's like, fuck you, I'm going to do what I want. Like, I'm going to do what I feel is right. And I'm either going to make it or I'm not, but it'll be my decision, no one else's.
That's a great point. Yeah, I think that those are the biggest years of my life. It's when when we changed the band name, we went through a lineup change, and that was tough for me because I parted ways with the drummer that I started the band with. I decided to at that point, like that. I mean, I was in school. Right? I went to college throughout the whole thing. I got my master's, and then I got a PhD too. And I realized at that point, like I wanted everything. And everybody told me my whole life, you can't do it all. You can't be in a band like semi-successfully and be a college professor. You can't be a college professor and run a music festival. You can't run a music festival and run a record label. And it's like everybody told me that for so long, like you can't. And I went to the strict private high school, dude, where everybody was a trust fund baby. Everybody went and took over their family's $1 billion business or became a doctor or a lawyer. And it was like, for me, it was like, dude, like that, and good for them. Like if that's what they wanted to do, that's great, but I just reached that point where I was like, I need to control my own destiny. And from that point on, dude, it's no bullshit, man. Like it really, really was like, if I want to do this, let's do it. Do we want, we have some aspirations for a new record we're going to record. Some people are telling me it's not possible. I want to do it. And then the nail in the coffin, well, not the nail in the coffin, but the cherry on the cake, which is a more positive metaphor.
Yeah. I was going to say, what happened?
Yeah. No, is that, dude, we were on the ballot. We didn't make it to the final ballot, but we were on the ballot for Grammys this year.
Yeah. That's crazy.
It's just, dude, and that was an accident too. I don't even, to this day, I couldn't tell you how that happened or why that happened. But dude, we were on the voting of the academies to make it to the final 6 for best
rock album, rock performance, and an alternative album.
Like, dude, like what the fuck? I mean, like, it's like, I mean, and Grant, I remember like they had like a online event that they were announcing all the nominations. And like, in order to get to that ballot, it's a huge pool that you have to get sifted through. And I remember listening to like my family. I don't know why. I knew nothing was going to happen, but like my family was watching and shit. And I was like, for a second, and it was the last shit that they were announcing. So I just sit through like 2 hours of like like all this like ridiculous like genres of music and stuff, and it made it to the end. And I remember being like, dude, like I turned it off. I sat for an hour and a half of all this shit, and I was like, it doesn't even matter. Like I know we're not going to get it, but it doesn't even matter if we did, because like this is it, man. I'm like, I like lived it. I did it. Like we fucking did it. Like no matter what, nobody can take away the fact that we are on our own label. We are our own managers. We are our own booking agents. We did this. Like it's something that is going to be written in history forever. That seemed impossible even 2 years ago.
And listen, as I started the show, and that's the most commendable stuff is your talent rises to the top, and just to be able to do it your own way just speaks volumes of the person you are. And there's a saying that my father always says, and I argue with him, but you can't teach work ethic. You know,
that's a very baby boomer thing to say.
Yeah, and that's what he says to me all the time. He's like, "Son, you can't teach work ethic." And I go, you're fucking wrong. He goes, "You can't do it." I go, "I watched you work your ass off every day as a child. Every day you went to work at 4 o'clock in the morning, went to school at night to get your degree, got home at 10 o'clock at night, only were around on Sundays while you're working on the house that we're living in and trying to afford." I'm like, you taught me work ethic. You may not think you did, but you taught me. So it is teachable, but that person that's teaching you has to be the one just doing it. So like, dude, it's not a class, but you can teach it.
I say that to my students all the time. All the time, man. All the time. This generation is just lacks that it factor of being able to love the grind. And I always say work smart, not hard, but grinding, I almost have to stop myself from saying that anymore, because like when you love what you do, it never feels like work.
No.
So that I just feel so lucky, dude. You know, I was telling a podcast I was doing earlier today, man. Like I have to pinch myself sometimes. Like I love teaching and I love being a professor and I love doing research. And like I'm doing research that I give a shit about, and I'm with students that you can maybe shape a little bit. I get to do the festival. I get to work on the label. I get to play music, dude. Like this I don't know what I did to deserve this, man. I really don't. This is just
I'm going to tell you what I'm going to tell you what you did, and you used a word that I don't like, luck, because you make your own luck. And you made your own luck, and if someone hasn't told you that, it's you working your ass off, doing all these things that people are telling you can't do. And I don't want to be this fucking cheerleader for you right now and come off, you know, but it shows, and all the success that you have in life is because of how much effort you put into it. If you don't put effort into it, you're not going to get anything from it. So, I mean, that is the number one thing.
I agree. I mean, like you got to put yourself in a position to be lucky. You know, I think is the way that I think about it. But you know, I mean, I've been lucky. I mean, even outside, I have grinded it hard, man, and I will continue to grind it until there's nothing left there. You know, but I just still feel like I don't like to be presumptuous or feel like, you know, things, you know, happen to me for whatever reason. So I like saying the word lucky because, and I don't believe in a God. I don't know what's out there, but like whatever's out there, and like whatever things had to happen or whatever events had to occur to put me here, like I'm just really grateful that I either went through with those things, or it was luck, or it was a combo. I'm just very, very grateful that this is where it's at. Like, and I just have to pinch myself every day, man. And I just really hope that other people, you know, can feel the same kind of joy that I feel, because it is magnificent at times. And I'm, you know, even though when I'm, you know, I bet too much money on Four Chord, or like it's, you know, our van breaks down, our trailer just broke down on a run of shows, and we're stuck here, we're stuck there. It's like, you know, I always have to tell myself that, like, dude, people would dream to be in a position like this, and I'm here, and I'm just very grateful for it.
Well, I'm grateful for the things you do. I'm grateful for the music we've given to listen to. I'm grateful that you're putting together festivals with bands that I love on it. I mean, I'm grateful for what it is that you're doing. So thank you for that.
Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate it very much, man.
So I'm going to ask you a question now. It's going to be a hard question for you to answer, because I'm going to ask you to pick your favorite child. But if someone never heard Eternal Boy, and you had to play them one song of yours, what song of yours would you play for them that you would say best describes the band?
Oh God. So the first So the first and second track off of our first record called Awkward Fade is called Clean Slate, and then Growing Pains. They're really one song, but for, we'll say, strategic streaming purposes, we separated them into two. Those two songs perfectly encapsulate the band. It is a little bit edgy. It's got a punk beat in the intro track for Clean Slate. It's about being in a band, and it's about accepting it and accepting the lifestyle. And it feeds right into a more, we'll say, anthematic pop punk, but a very driving pop punk song called Growing Pains. That, to me, every day of my life is a growing pain. You lose something, you gain something, you learn something every single day. Whether it's a friend, whether it's a business, whether it's an opportunity, whether it's a family member passing away or getting sick, whether it's your dog passing away or getting sick, whether it's you losing friends, losing significant, whatever it may be. It's like you're constantly growing, and I hate this idea that you've grown up, right? That I don't think that I will never ascribe to that, and people think that's why we're called Eternal Boy, because I never want to grow up. But like, the bottom line is that you're always
the Peter
learning,
Pan syndrome.
Exactly, Peter Pan complex. But if you're always growing and you're always learning, then you're never ever going to grow up, right? If you constantly allow yourself to learn new things and constantly allow yourself to move forward, that's what Growing Pains is about. And that's what this band's about. This band is unequivocally about trials and tribulations. There's member changes that happen sporadically. There's turmoil with this, or how do we get through this? It's like everything is a pain at some degree, but it's how you ultimately flip that pain and make it into something that's more palpable. And I think those two songs, musically, lyrically, and narratively, all really encapsulate what the band's about.
That's awesome. My favorite song off that album is Harder to Stay, but
dude, love that song, man. Love that song. It's my favorite. That's my favorite song that I've ever written. But I think in terms of, like, you know what? I mean, that song's got to be up there too, man. That's a really, really close song to my heart, about everybody leaving your hometown and saying how hard it is it's so hard to leave. Like, just can't you empathize? I'm moving away. I'm starting a new life. But really, it's harder to stay, man, when your parents get old and you take care of them, or your people stay or go in and out of your life, and the landscape changes. It's much harder to stay than it is to leave, I think.
No, and it kind of encompasses my life. I live in the town that I grew up in, but when I left, I said I never want to go back there. And like, my parents live a mile and a half down the street. My brother lives 5 miles up the street, and like, I love it here, but I still don't. I don't always want to be here, but it is one of those things. It really is harder. It's harder to force yourself to stay. And that's why I love it. And I loved your explanation of your songs. And that's what, sometimes I hate when the curtain's pulled back, because the song belongs to me and it means what it needs to mean to me. Because once you put it out there, it doesn't belong to you anymore. It's no longer your song; it's my song. So
100%.
Fuck your thoughts. But I like I like your explanation of it, and that whole growing up thing. And you bring up a good point, and to get it out there to some people. My life is lived by learning something new every day. You don't have to remember it, but if you can go to sleep at night and realize that you didn't learn something new that day, you just wasted a day.
Oh, 100%, dude. Dude, we would be such good friends if we lived in the same town. I feel the exact same way, man.
It's my life, and no matter what it is, even if you see something online, I'm like, I never knew that before. Just that little jolt that goes through your brain. I mean, that's the moment, and that's I trying to get to our younger audience. Just seek out new knowledge every day. You don't have to remember it. You don't have to be a genius and teach it to someone else, but just pique your interest with something new and learn something new. Whether it be something, even TikTok, the fucking stupid world that's out there. But if you learn something new that you never knew before, just first make sure it's 100% accurate. But, just learn something new. It doesn't matter what it is.
100%. 100%.
All right. End of the world. Meteor's going to crash into the earth. You have 5 minutes left to live, and you have one song that you can listen to. What song do you listen to?
Oh, fucking shit. Oh my God, dude. You are cruel and unusual to ask a question like that. Okay, so like this isn't my favorite song of all time.
It doesn't have to be your favorite song. It's what you would listen to at that moment.
I'm trying by Face to Face.
Really?
Yeah, it's one of my favorite songs I've ever heard in my entire life, and it speaks to me. It's a reason why I was straight edge for a long time. It's a reason why like I don't really drink or do drugs right now. It's really like a central song that like I can attribute to how I discovered other things and other parts of my life. That I heard Disconnected on an MTV snowboarding music video, and then that was the first song that I heard after that. Which I believe, is there a recorded version of that, or is it only a live version of that?
There's a recorded version.
Okay, right. So I heard the live version off of their 1998 live record.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I own, to be a fanboy, every single recording ever, even their initial demo tape when they weren't called Face to Face. So,
well, here's a big question for you. See how big of a Face to Face fan you are. Do you have Trevor Keith's Shoot the Moon signed poetry book from 2004 on their tour with My Chemical Romance?
I don't have that because I wasn't willing to pay for it because I didn't get to go to that. I mean, I have his new book.
Right. Well, how about if we ever meet, I will give that to you as my gift to you.
You don't. I don't ever. I appreciate the thought and sentiment. Truly, I truly do.
You're getting it. You're getting it no matter what. It's done. It's established already.
Thanks.
Sure.
All right. All right. You just took my breath away. Thank you for that. Host losing his breath during his own show. All right. Where was I? Oh, is there an artist that someone will be totally blown away with that you get tons of enjoyment out of for someone who put together a pop punk festival and is in a pop punk band? Is there an artist that someone would be like, I never would have thought he listened to that?
Yeah. Taylor Swift.
All right. See,
100%. I think
the documentary turned me on to her. The recording of Folklore.
Folklore, yeah.
That was just like, I was like, all right, this bitch, she's got it. Okay.
Taylor Swift, I think, in a branding perspective, I don't really know if I agree with how she got popular. I don't know the whole story. I've heard rumors, but I think Taylor Swift, from a songwriting perspective, I think every Taylor Swift song could easily be transformed to a punk or pop punk song from every record. And I think that her evolution, the way she presents herself as no bullshit, I think that she's the punkest out of any celebrity that I know.
Yeah, and the fact of like who she admires and brings in to work with, that's the kind of stuff that I'm just like, that's where my respect level jumps up. And my respect level also jumps up for artists who write, record, sing, do everything themselves. Like that, to me, like you deserve higher praise than someone who is manufactured in a factory.
Oh, totally. 100% agree with that. Yeah. I think she encapsulates that a lot. I think that there's just something about her, man. I think that she really gets it. The way she fought for her music back from her label, and then the whole Scooter Braun issue. I just think that her overall brand. I mean, I know that she's polarizing. Many people hate her, and I mean, to be in the punk world, and I just think that my whole dream, and my wife knows, I'm sure she's listening through the door right now. She loves Taylor Swift too, but like my dream is to like essentially just do a co-write with Taylor, just like acoustic guitar, her come to my house, I sit on my back porch, light a fire, and help and write a ballady type punk song, and I'm waiting for the day that she decides to do a rock record, because I think that she would fucking kill it.
Let's see how hard you work, because everything else that you put your mind to, you make happen. So let's get this done.
I love it, dude. I'm fucking starting tonight.
Let's start sending emails from everywhere to get it done. I'll do it too.
I'll make an algorithm that just creates fake email addresses and says they have to work with me. Done.
Oh, man. So we can go on forever. And I want to save some more conversation for us for another time. Maybe when the new Eternal Boy album comes out, we can continue our conversation. We are deep into it right now, and I couldn't be more satisfied where we are. I think we're at a good point right now. We're pushing Four Chord Fest. That is awesome. Your dreams everything you work so hard for coming true, and Blink 182 being there next year will be amazing. I'm just putting it out into the universe.
I hope.
So people don't write me saying, asshole, you said they were coming next year. I'm just putting it out into the universe so we can do this. But man, before we move on to the last segment, again, thank you so much for all your hard work that we all get to enjoy. That is what the world's about, and the fact that you put yourself out there and you put your hard work and you are doing things for other people. It's that selfish act, which is truly how we should live our lives, doing things for other people, but you also have to take yourself into account, because there's no one more important than yourself. Through everything that we go through in this world, you yourself are very important. So never leave yourself behind while doing things for other people, because that's the only way we get around. And what you're doing for other people and yourself is extremely commendable. And we here at Hidden Tracks thank you exponentially for all you've done.
Well, thank you so much for the kind word. You are, once again, you are a gentleman and a scholar, and I appreciate everything you said, man.
So we're coming into our last segment. It is our weekly threes. It is 3 things that you're listening to right now that you would like people to check out.
Okay. They're all probably very small bands, most of them. There is a band from Portland, Oregon that they're real small. They're called Chlorine. My friend Jared used to be in a band called Head Injuries that started that band. They're awesome. They have a really weird, grungy kind of vibe that really marries the pop part of punk and the grunge part of grunge together. They're called Chlorine. They have a song that just came out called Stay Sane that I've been listening to that I love a lot. There is a band that is fronted by the lead singer of a band called The Story So Far. They're called No Pressure. A guy named Pat is also in that band. He was in a band called Light Years. They are, if Blink from Dude Ranch era ended up being ended up marrying H2O.
Mm-hmm. They were on my threes. Exactly. They were on my threes a couple weeks ago.
Nice, perfect. Yep. So No Pressure, yep. Great. No Pressure, and then I would say a third one that I'm listening to. Do they have to be current, new, or
no? It can be anything, man. Anything that you're listening to that you want people to check out, because it's important what you listen to.
I listen to. Man, this is a tough one. I want to make sure it's a good one because I'm listening to a bunch of new stuff.
You can give me more than 3. It's my show.
Okay. Well. So there is a band from New Jersey. They are a ska punk band called Millington that are all over like the ska Spotify play. They don't play often. They just play Governor's Ball. I'm interested to get a story on how they landed that, considering they don't play many shows. Listen to a song of theirs called Solo that came out recently. They have a lot of good stuff. And then I'll just throw a fourth one out there. I am listening to a band from Chicago that I would love to work with Four Chord Music. I've actually reached out to them. I mean, who knows what'll happen. They're called Long Gone. They're much more poppy. They're like more of a pop rock act on the pop punk side of things. But I really dig it. And I think that those 4 bands you should check out.
Awesome. Nice. So I'll give 3 for this week, as I always do.
I'm writing these down too.
My first one is a band called Stay Inside. They have an EP out called Blight. They are Brooklyn. I'll throw the indie band label on there. It's hard to describe music nowadays, and I don't like to put labels on bands. I let them do that themselves, so they can do that themselves.
No Sleep Records band.
Yeah.
Yep.
Tree River. Name of the album is Time Being. Came out recently. Another band from Brooklyn. I just goes to show that I've been in Brooklyn a lot lately. Going to shows.
Yes,
I was last week. Next week, yeah. So,
damn.
But yeah, Tree River, great band. I would guess to label them as like maybe an emo revival of like mixing all 5 stages of emo together. Really good.
Oh, I can't wait to listen.
Next band I have is a band called Leaving Time. The name of the album, it's just punch in Roman numeral 2. They're a Jacksonville shoegazy band. So if you're a Hum fan or or something like that, check them out. Those are my three for this week.
One of the most famous shoegaze songs of all time. I'll take a listen. So leaving time, Tree River, and Stay Inside.
Yep.
I'm on it, dude.
Awesome. Well, I don't know. I don't know how to end this poetically, but it really is. I mean, I've had a blast. I truly have. It's been amazing getting to know you in a short period of time. I feel like I've known you forever now, which is just awesome. Been very easy to talk to. And you know, we end this show with a saying, and I got to add a lot to it. So when I say it, everyone, you know what time it is. It's time to go out, listen to the SpacePimps, Eternal Boy. Make sure you go to 4 Chord Fest and have a great fucking time.
Amen.
Fucking years, where is the time gone? I don't know where it ends or where it starts. Backstabbing and opinionated, or you're too best qualities. You took advantage of me again. When you know it's so hard for me to let my guard down in front of you. It's so hard for me to let my guard down in front of you. So I say, if this is your last night, I try to hold on tight. Can't we stay right here forever? 'Cause apart. You let me down. I'm used to it by now. You play the part of the victim all too well. I finally see the real side of you, and I don't like it. No, not one bit. You were once a person I looked up to. You know it's so hard for me to let my guard down in front of you. It's so hard for me to let my guard down in front of you. So I say, don't leave me tonight. Don't put up a fight. Can't we stay right here forever? 'Cause I waited a lifetime for you to apologize for all you didn't do. It hurts. You're not the person that I know. The hardest part of growing is growing apart. You know it's so hard for me to let my guard down in front of you. It's so hard for me to let my guard down in front of you. 'Cause I waited a lifetime for you to apologize.
Thanks again for tuning into the Hidden Tracks podcast. We hope you enjoyed this week's show. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at HiddenTracks99. Also, send all your submissions myhiddentracks99@gmail.com. Tune in next week. You may find your new favorite band, and don't forget to go out and have a great fucking time.